Hi, my name is Katie from The Feather Place. Today we're doing a technique video on painting. We find that painting falls into three basic categories: hand painting, spray painting, and gilding. So I have this little board made up of feathers that we like to use for painting. Now I'm going to do a little description to explain why certain feathers can be used to paint with or to spray paint with while others can't. But a feather is made up of bars when it gets close to the quill. And the bars overlap and it pulls it together, and that's what makes that feather waterproof. So if a feather does that, it has the quality of being painted or spray painted. Now, as it loosens up, those hairs become flue and they come apart like you see on the peacock eye. Very few paints can be applied onto the flue. Almost all feathers will turn into flue toward the bottom or have like a marabou look. So what we would either do is cover those over if we were trying to do a spray painting technique, or strip them off so that they don't get paint on them at all. So now we're going to go into each category and show you how to do it. So the first technique that we're going to start with is the gilding. There are two different methods that you can do. Today we are going to use the spray adhesive. Other people use a liquid varnish. And basically what you want to do is you want to saturate the surface of the feather. But you want to make sure that you either have the adhesive or the varnish completely on the edges. You want the gilding to go on it and around it. Okay, so I just went outside and I sprayed this particular quill already with the spray adhesive. When you first put the spray adhesive on, it's really glossy, but as you see, after a couple of minutes, it becomes a little bit rough and texturized. That's when you know that it's ready to apply whatever it is you're working with. In this particular case, we're using the gilding. I go ahead and turn the feather over. My feather's longer. You can get the sheets in different sizes and shapes. I just picked this one out. I start at the top and press it down like so, and then lift it off. Then flip it over. I have this little brush. It's kind of feathery, and I just start from the back side. Remember how I was saying we want to be sure you want to get the glue all the way around on the edge because you want to overlap it. That way if somebody's seeing your quill from the side, you don't have any of the other showing through. This would be great to use, you know, inside of a feather arrangement, a flower arrangement. You could do this on a boutonniere or anything like that. So another reason why I like this particular brush is because it fills in all those edges. Now I take this one and I use it because it's a little harder, and I can push off and around the sides. If you have some spray of adhesive a little bit left over, it's fine, and you can just wrap it if you wanted to. It's such a thin material that you don't really have to worry about it globbing up on you, because the more you keep brushing it, the better it's going to look. What you could do also is if you have a spot that you see that maybe didn't get enough adhesive on it, you could apply a little bit more. Each time that I've done this, I've always poked a little hole. So I don't know if you can see it or not, but right here I poked a hole. So then what I would do is just get a piece that's pretty small, just to cover it back over. And as long as you got enough adhesive on there, it should cover your little space. Then what I do after a few minutes, I come back and I brush the edge of it just a little bit more. I let this go ahead and stick on there. Maybe 3 or 4 minutes of just resting on it, and then we're going to rebrush it. And that's how you do gilding. Okay, so we're going to move into the next category of hand painting. Pretty easy. Usually you'll just need paint brushes, your paint that you choose. Something else that I like to do though with intricate designs is I like to go ahead and do a light little outline, kind of what I want, and then I can go more detailed when I'm painting with it, but at least it keeps me symmetrical whenever I'm working on a feather. Today we're going to do our design off of a turkey quill. The turkey quill that I chose is just a normal hard turkey quill. Turkey quills come two different ways though. You can also do parried, so as you see they're very soft and pliable, really wispy. If you're not used to painting much, or if you have a very, very detailed pattern that you want to do, I highly recommend purchasing the Parried feather because you can get it to lay completely flat and you don't have to worry about it humping up. This is very difficult. It's very springy and you're going to have to keep applying pressure to keep it down. Now, already ahead of time, I used this white chalk marker or pen and drew on lightly what our detailed design was going to be. So that's what we're going to follow up with our paintbrushes and gold paint. And that is hand painting. All right, so the next category that we're going to go into is dipping. When you're choosing your paints for doing your dipping, you're going to do a little test run probably. I've already done a lot of dipping in the past before, and these are two that I really, really like. But let's just face it, not all metallics are created equal. So it's going to take some playing around with before you get that metallic look that you really, really like, because they vary a lot. So what I did is, these are pourable paints, and I did 3 to 1. So 3 parts paint, 1 part water, because I want the paint to be able to go ahead and come on off. If the paint does not come off fast enough, it will kind of weigh the feather down and it'll just look like a skinny feather. And you will lose some of the quality of the feather that it already has. So, again, 3 to 1 on the paints. I'm going to go ahead and give you just a gentle shake. The thing about dipping that's nice, it is quick. Drying time's not quick, but dipping it is quick. And you do get both sides done at the same time. I'm just going to let it hold there for a second and let as much of the excess come off as I possibly can. So I wanted to show you and just turn this to the side a little bit. You see how we have a few bubbles right here? It's okay, you can touch them with your paintbrush and get them to come out. And then at the very end, if you can see the quill, we could just take a little paint and smooth over the quill and you won't see it right there. And then I'm just going to lay it to dry to the side. Every now and then, you'll want to move your feather just so it doesn't get solidly dried to the surface that you lay it on. Now I'm going to move to the gold. And again, just depending on the cylinders or the containers that you're using, you could go way deeper. There's quite a bit of paint on there. So again, it doesn't hurt if you rub it just a little bit to help it go a little faster to come off because it's going to run back down. I don't really have too many bubbles on this. I do on the back side here. Basically, I just want to pop them because in the end, I want it to have a smoother look. And then we'll just take our paintbrush and touch up any time that we can see the quill behind it. So as a reminder, 2 things you're going to want to remember to do. Keep flipping the feathers and moving them around a little bit so they don't become too dried on to the board that you're drying them on. And then also, anywhere that you have any mark that you might have taken and removed the paint from off of the feather, we can always just do like a little touch-up dab job and you won't be able to tell the difference. But that's the basic way that you do dipping. Okay, so the next category that we're going to move into is the spray painting category, which happens to be my favorite. You can become very creative with this. We use a lot of dots and tape in order to make really cool designs. Again, like we talked about earlier in the video, there is a huge difference in paints when you get into the metallic sections. So there are a couple of standbys that we don't go away from, that the only ones that we use. That is the silver and the gold. Golds especially will oxidize after a day or so, or after a short period of time, maybe a month. But at the bottom, we see an example on these 2 coattails of just any kind of gold metallic. It almost doesn't even look gold. It looks more brown. This is the gold that we use in-house, and it stays with a high luster. It's a really nice quality paint. This is it right here. And if you'll notice, it's an enamel spray paint. The silver that we use in-house also does not oxidize over time. These feathers that you see now have been freshly done, but we have feathers here that we have in our example boxes that we've had for years, and they just don't lose their luster. So in this example, we're going to do where we cover half the quill with tape, and then do a metallic on the opposite side. You can do this one of 2 ways. You could expose the quill in the center, or you could hide it. In this one, I decided to hide it. I just want the bars themselves to get the paint. In this example, we're going to demonstrate how to do tipping. It's extremely popular right now, and you're going to see it two different ways. You're going to see a shallow tipping and you're going to see a deep tipping. Now, in order to do this and to make it look really nice, you're going to want to tape the feather down first underneath, and then I use a piece of paper with another piece of tape exactly on top, and I just press it really, really, really good the whole way because I don't want any overspray. I really want a crisp line between those two. This is a simple one, and what we're going to do is use our gold. So I'm likely to only need to use one coat, possibly two, just depending on the wind outside. In this example, we're just going to do the polka dots. On this particular quill, I taped it with several tape loops underneath behind the feather so that way it would stay as close to the board as possible. I just want it to be super clean. And then something else that you're going to have to do before you paint and between each coat is go back and press the dots again each time, because in order to make the dot work look really nice, you have to make sure it's adhering to the feather very well. So I highly recommend it. Between each and every coat, press it really good and hard. In this example, we're going to be doing the chevron pattern. We are using Scotch tape as our method of doing our stripes and lines on it. And just like with any of the other projects that we're doing with the tape or the dots, in between each coat, you're going to give it a solid rub and make sure that it's adhering to the feather still. In the beginning, I do have 3 or 4 different pieces of tape behind the feather so that way it stays really close to the board to make it look really nice and finished. All right, that's it for painting and gilding feathers. But if you have any tips that we didn't share on painting and gilding feathers, please comment below. We'll see you next time.